Namaste. Hello and welcome to the Kundalini podcast. That was Zen. This is Tao. I'm Vivek Govekar. This is episode 43. And right now, it's the beginning of springtime. I had promised that I would make a video right around this time during the beginning of spring. If you look back and see my video when I made it on December 21st, change of seasons. And one of the things I had mentioned was I can start feeling the seasons as they change. So winter is very depressive. It's kind of takes away my energy, and spring just brings that energy back in, and I'm feeling that right now. What I'm feeling right now is almost the energy building up to the point that I can't even breathe, and it's just blissful. It is wonderful. I cannot even describe this feeling. So, thought I'd make a video as I was going through this, and it's amazing. Right now, I still don't have leaves on my tree in my backyard, and this other one has a few birds. But in the rest of the city, when I drive around, there's spring blossoms all over the place, and it's, oh my God, I can't even describe this. So the winter is gone. This time the depression wasn't as bad, and made it through. That's how I always feel over the last 10 years, ever since this awakening began, is I have to get through winter. And this time it was a much better process than in the past winters. So let me talk about some subjects that have been brought up by some of the comments that I received. And I received a comment recently, actually an email from a viewer, and they made some wonderful points about this entire process, the Kundalini process. So I thought I'd address those issues or talk about them and describe some of the things. So this person was very thankful that I made those videos, and I'm very appreciative of your kind words. Thank you very much. So the question was, in Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, the highest state of removal from bondage, just like nirvana or becoming one with Param Shiva in Kashmir Shaivism, Patanjali calls it Kaivalya. And Kaivalya is the same thing. It's the dissolution of the ego, the mind, and staying in that state permanently once that ego is completely dissolved. Now, a major thing that I need to mention, I think I've mentioned this before, but I guess it needs to be restated based on the comments that I received from this person. They were very, very smart and knowledgeable and intelligent comments. But the one thing I cannot sufficiently convey is the exact nature of the Kundalini process. So this person's question related to Kaivalya and had a technical question about the Kundalini energy. Like, okay, this energy is just a tool. It makes you better. It gives you more concentration. But you could still fall down and you could still come down to a certain level, and Kaivalya is that final stage that you have to reach. Always, when I have a conversation with people who have not had an awakening, I need to emphasize one thing. In anything else that you do, as long as you're unawakened, as long as you are still a human being who is in control of his or her own actions, you have never experienced anything like this where once it's awakened, when I'm saying that the snake moves in my spine, that person asked me, like, Kundalini is a tool, right? As if I'm in control. No. I am just the vessel. I am the tool. Me meaning this person, Vivek, the person that is undergoing the process, is the tool. The Kundalini energy is not just an energy that I control, or it has been given to me and now I can do whatever I want to with it. No. This is Devi, Shakti, the highest power. And it has an intelligence and consciousness that's much, much higher than any human intelligence and consciousness. And it doesn't leave the process to the human being and what they will do or not do. once it takes over, that's why people are so scared, because they think, because of all what's out there in popular culture, people think, oh, alien has invaded my body, or what has taken over, this is some evil energy. No, it takes over, and it does whatever it wants with you. It removes the blockages that need to be removed. And remember, these blockages, let's say you're a person with a bad reputation and people have these opinions, oh, this person has done this and bad, that's bad. The energy doesn't care about those things at all. So somebody trying to guilt trip you based on your past actions and what you may or may not have done, what's popular and frowned upon in today's culture, none of that matters to the energy. So even with a so-called bad reputation and past actions where you've been, I was, like I said, party guy, just drink, enjoy. And that obviously some people frown on that because they are very conservative. But the energy does not care about that. It is clearing other blockages and other things which you may think that, oh, this was very minor. What's the big deal about that? Everybody does this. No. Which is why I mentioned things like your behavior with people in day-to-day interactions, how harsh you are. If you have said negative things, that accumulates more karma even though everybody else is doing it. And some things that you have done where you were just having fun, it doesn't matter what the action was, it matters what the intent was behind that action. So just because you grew up in a family where everybody was a teetotaler, didn't drink, alcohol was frowned upon, and you became like not an alcoholic, not a drunkard, just somebody who partied and enjoyed life more than the conservative people. That idea that is stuck in one part of society is not relevant to the energy. What's more relevant to the energy is your overall interactions. If you've been a good person who just partied sometimes, who did not go out and manipulate and exploit people, that matters more, because those actions, exploitative, manipulative actions, have created more blockages, even though even teetotalers, people who don't drink, may be engaged in those activities and doing harsh and sadistic things sometimes, punishing people, cheating them, and that creates worse karma than just having a drink once in a while. So what is popular or unpopular has no relevance to the energy. That's one thing. Secondly, like I said before, I am the tool it is using. And why that has been set up that way is because exactly this thing, what people say, how society expects you to behave, all of that mattered before. After the awakening though, if it is left up to that old person, old self, old ego of that person, they're gonna be easily manipulated again and won't be able to break out of this. So the way it has been set up is the energy just comes and takes you over. Then, in the initial stages, why there is so much trauma is because part of you wants to hold on to the old life. Part of you is very reluctant to go along with the energy. And like I said, because I'm lucky to have had some background, which is why a religious background and having some knowledge of this comes in very handy. Somebody who has never heard of Kundalini and only knows about aliens is going to be scared and be resistant to that energy and what it's doing. Somebody who kind of gets, oh, well, this is Kundalini, let me search this, and finds out and says, okay, so the best path is to align with the energy. I'm not doing anything. It is doing it to me. I'm the puppet. I just have to go along with it. And the more I resist, the more problems I will have in discarding my old self. And as difficult as it sounds, discarding that old self, familiarizing with yourself with all that old trauma or things that you have repressed. Normally a person wouldn't do that or is reluctant to do that. But in this case, having done it, it gets discarded. It goes away. And a better self is revealed. Your underlying real true self is revealed. So no, the energy is not a tool that I use or can use. And whatever is written in books, remember, this is not wrong. That person who wrote it and asked me those questions was very knowledgeable. I would not be as knowledgeable as him. Had I not had this awakening before when I was agnostic, that would have been very impressive knowledge to me. But now it is still theoretical knowledge. I look at it and go, yeah, no, you're right. But remember that the process is autonomous, automatic. I am not in control. For an unawakened person, attempting samadhi, attempting meditation, those things become important because they are still in charge. They are doing it all on their own. And this hasn't taken over to take care of the process for them. The cleansing is automatic. The blockages that are being removed, that's why the energy is going up and down my spine. That is automatic. All I have to do is surrender to it, not oppose anything that it is showing me and create more barriers and blockages saying, no, I never did this, or oh, this never happened to me. Go along with it. Whatever it is this old filth, mud that has to be cleansed. But that happens automatically to me. I don't control anything. And the other thing that person asked about was Kaivalya, or that state, Kaivalya, Nirvana, Turyavastha. Turya is a state of meditation or samadhi. Like it's a state between waking and sleeping. None of those come with instructions saying, okay, now you're going into this, this is Turyavastha, or this is Kaivalya. You're just going through experiences, you call it something, then you read in scripture and say, oh, okay, this is what that was. But here's the more important thing. What it is called is irrelevant. Whether that matches some book or not is not important. The experience is important. Another thing I had mentioned, and this person brought it up, was in episode 20, I had mentioned, if you misuse your power, you come down to an unawakened level. Now, remember what this means. Once the energy awakens, and it is a permanent awakening, there are two types of awakenings themselves. There is a temporary one, where the energy awakens for a while, but does not penetrate into the heart chakra, so it goes back dormant again. The other kind is when it penetrates the heart chakra and now it's there for good, for as long as it takes, maybe your entire lifetime, to do its work. Once that happens, what I am talking about, coming back down to your unawakened state or going up again, all of those things are still within the realm of the process going on in the background. That never stops. What happens is, see, if you have an ego, if you have any craving, that itself becomes a barrier for the process to proceed, right? So let's say you have now access to certain powers or certain things that you have seen, and you decide to use them in a certain way. What are you doing? You're getting distracted. If you have seen my previous videos, all I have been saying is to go within. But here, now you see some new experience, and again the distraction happens, and automatically the ego gets placed back in place. And that stops the process from proceeding further. That's what I mean by going back to the unawakened state. You're doing it yourself by getting distracted. And that's when you know that is a misuse of the energy. It's not misuse in any harmful sense, it's just a distraction. Every enlightened guru tells you the same thing. They don't say that the powers are bad, don't use them, or powers, oh yeah, become powerful and start using them. Not that I have a lot of power. But whatever little I have, it can become a distraction. So they say, beware of them. Keep going on your path towards oneness. And something that is different from your regular human experience. The regular human experiences you've already overcome. But now this is something new that is being revealed, and again the distraction will happen. And again you have to come back. And for that period where you were distracted, you are as good as somebody that is unawakened. But the process, once it begins, is ongoing, automatic, and all you have to do is just surrender to it and allow it to do its work. I hope that was helpful. I'm going to enjoy this spring, and I'm feeling really, really blissful. Thank you. Be well.